Packers. This is a week 1 rematch. Green Bay Packers going to Philadelphia. Philadelphia opens at 4-point favorites. Drew, who you got?
I'm going to pick the Eagles to win, but I actually think the Packers cover here.
Oh, wow.
And I know that the Jordan Love situation is a little worrisome, but it sounds like he's going to play. I mean, I don't think they're worried about that. Obviously, Christian Watson not being on the field will affect Jordan Love as well. But in my opinion, the Eagles are also kind of dealing with some injuries. They're dealing with Jalen Hurts, who he's still kind of questionable. And if he can't play, I think I believe Kenny Pickett is actually hurt as well. Mm-hmm. Their backup. So I'm not even confident in that one. So I think this could be a very weird game. Obviously it's going to be Saquon and Josh Jacobs heavy. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a lot of running from these both of these teams. So I don't think it's going to be a big score, and that's why I kind of would pick the Packers to cover. But I would ultimately say if we're looking at we're saying everyone's healthy, we look at the head coach. I would lean LaFleur. If we're looking at quarterback, obviously, I'm probably going to go with Jalen Hurts at this point. I think Jordan Love has been good, mm-hmm. but if I were to look at both, I would probably still stick with Jalen Hurts. And then you look at defense. I think the Eagles have the better defense of the two. So I'm going to pick the Eagles to win, but like I said, Packers cover.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. I do have them going over in points. It's only a 4-point spread, so really a touchdown kind of goes over. So that's what I would say. But again, with Philadelphia, kind of like what you said, in my opinion, with the Green Bay Packers, and I mentioned this, they really don't have like a for sure number 1 wide receiver option. So they really don't know where that ball is going. Christian Watson not being in the lineup, I don't know how much of a focal point he would have been if he was as well. Romeo Doubs seems like the guy that they usually call upon. Sometimes he goes away in big moments. Then you have Jaden Reed. How involved is he going to be? So I think Jordan Love is really good about spreading the ball around. There's just not one guy that a defense can prepare for that opens it up for everything else. And Josh Jacobs, this Philadelphia Eagles team has a very good run stop defense. So if they plug those lanes, Josh Jacobs really could just be neutralized. And now you're having Jordan Love throw, and he can throw the ball, but he's also turnover prone. Like he throws turnovers almost every game, and you can't do that with the Philadelphia Eagles. They will make you pay for it. And I think them giving the Eagles giving the Packers a healthy dose of Saquon Barkley is going to help this. I think they're going to really rely on Saquon Barkley to relieve Jalen Hurts. I think they're going to game plan to where they're going to get A.J. Brown involved heavily, Devonta Smith. I really think that the Eagles are going to find a way to not really utilize Jalen Hurts in a rushing factor to prevent him from maybe getting another concussion or whatnot. Just in this game in particular, because I think their big game is going to come after this one. I do think the Packers will hold their own, but I just don't think that they're quite there yet. I think they probably need a couple more pieces. So I got the
they're a year away in my opinion.
Yeah. So I got the Eagles and to cover on the points or to go over on the points, excuse me.
Okay.
All right, not final. 2 more NFC ones to go. We got the Commanders going to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored at 4 points. Who you got?
I'm looking at the new spread. So it opened at 2.5. It got up to 4. Right now it's at 3.
Oh, okay.
But either way, this might be a shock. I would actually take the Buccaneers and the points. I would take them over. And the reason being is I think the Commanders have been a really great story. They've been really good, surprising. But I feel like Tampa Bay is more old school football where it's run the football. We got a quarterback that we can trust who's not going to turn the ball over. We have an incredible defense who's going to suffocate you. And I think Jaden Daniels is a quarterback who likes to run. And when he starts getting a little successful with his run, he starts running more and he takes some really bad hits. And I think that is going to affect him in this game. And I think Tampa Bay is not a team that you could really get away with doing that. I think they're a hard-hitting team. And so for me, again, you look at head coach, as much as Dan Quinn has been a really good coach this year, I'm still going to take Todd Bowles because he's done it for a little bit longer, a little more successfully. You You look at quarterback, I'm still going to take Baker Mayfield because he's not going to turn the ball over. And then you look at defense, I'm going to take the Buccaneers on that one. So for me, it's a clean sweep. So I know a lot of people like the Commanders' defense, and they've been good. I don't want to take anything away from that. And Dan Quinn, that's his side of the ball, really. He's a good defensive-minded head coach, but so is Todd Bowles. And you look at, they have to stop Mike Evans. They have to stop Bucky Irving, who you mentioned earlier. Even Rachaad White, even though he hasn't been as good, he still is a intricate part of the offense. Chris Godwin, I mean, you look at across the table, the Buccaneers have a really good team, and not to mention that offensive line is really good, where I think Jaden Daniels doesn't have as good of an offensive line, and I think that Buccaneers defense is going to feast on him. So I'm going to take the Buccaneers in the points.
Drew Code Sports Talk is supported by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is your go-to app for tickets, making it super easy to find the best deals. They even rate each ticket deal on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting your money's worth. And as a special thank you to our listeners, we've got a promo code just for you. Use Drew Code at checkout to get $20 off your first order. That's $20 off your first purchase, whether it's for the game that you've been dying to see or that concert that everybody is talking about. Head over to SeatGeek now, find your perfect seat, and use Drew Code for $20 off your first order. SeatGeek, get your tickets to the action today.
So I think majority of our picks have been aligned, and I think this one is where we're going to differ. So I'm actually going to go with the Commanders to win outright. I don't know what it is about this Commanders team. They, in my opinion, are a surprising team that's going to catch somebody sleeping. And I'm not saying that the Buccaneers are going to be falling asleep, but what I like about the Commanders is they just have this energy and this fun that they bring to the game. And for some reason, Dan Quinn has this team playing better than what anyone anticipated. And I feel like that they're going to get one victory that's going to shock a lot of people. And I think this is that one in the wild card, because Buccaneers are, as you said, favored. Now the point has come down to 3. But I think with what the Commanders have in Jaden Daniels, with the weapons that they have, the defense that is actually underrated, and I think that could give Baker Mayfield some problems, which to Baker's credit has been taking care of the ball really well, throwing it all over the field. So he's done really well. But I think the Commanders are a good team that could neutralize that and keep it close. All they have to do is keep it within a winning distance. So that way, a last-second field goal. I'm not saying that another Hail Mary or anything like that, but I think the Commanders are a good enough team to where they could shock some people, and the Buccaneers could be upset in this game. And I would say the Commanders, in my opinion, are poised to do that. So I got the Commanders to win outright in this one. All right. Final NFC game. It's the Vikings. It says at LA Rams, but of course, due to the LA fires and all that tragedy, it's going to be in Arizona now. Minnesota is favored at only 1.5 points to open, and I'm not sure if the spread has changed. So Drew, you'll have to check me on that.
Right now, it opened at 2.5. It went down all the way to 1.5. But currently, it is at Minnesota favored at -3.
Okay, so we're at Minnesota -3. So who do you got in this game?
I'm picking the Rams outright.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason being is Sam Darnold has had a phenomenal year. Not taking anything away, but he's never been in this type of a big game before. O'Connell, the head coach, is a great head coach. That defense the Vikings have is really good, but I think everyone's underestimating this Rams defense has been very good. Probably the leader of this Rams team, if I'm being honest. Like, yeah, the offense has been okay. It's been good, but when you're talking about the Rams team, the reason they're winning a lot of these games and close games even, it's been because of that defense. That defense has been very underrated all year long. And again, I look at head coach, quarterback, defense. I would go Sean McVay with head coaching just because of the experience, and he's been doing it for a long time, and he's been doing it really well every year. I would definitely pick Matthew Stafford, even though he's got some injuries. Listen, Sam Darnold has had one successful year, and that's this year. So, I'm going to temper expectations a little bit. And then defense, I would probably go Vikings on that one. I think the Vikings are are the better defense, if I'm being honest. But I do think this Rams defense is underrated. But for me, with the Rams as well, the Vikings have a lot that they have to cover. Not only do they have to cover Kyron Williams, who is a pass-catching back, but also is a really good, just incredible between-the-tackle running back. And probably should be mentioned in the NFL best running back discussion, because I think he's been phenomenal all year long. But you have to deal with Puka Nacua. Yeah, Cooper Kupp hasn't been fantastic this year. Obviously, injuries have kind of derailed him. But I think Cooper Kupp is something that you have to think about as well. You look at they've gotten 3 tight ends all involved somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how a team has done it with 3 tight ends, but they're like killing it right now. So I like the Rams in this situation because of the experience. And I understand the Vikings have been phenomenal all year. They were going toe-to-toe with Detroit, but it's hard for me to forget the Detroit game with Minnesota. And what that was is it's a big stage. It's a big deal. Whoever wins gets basically the number one spot seed in the playoffs. Yes, mm-hmm. Number 1 seed is what I was looking for. And when push came to shove, Sam Darnold kind of shrunk down. And that team kind of shrunk down. They were not ready for that moment. Now, you could make the argument, hey, they saw what they did wrong. Now they're going to do it correctly. I think that's a fair assumption. But for me, the Rams are so experienced in all the important areas. I think the Rams win here.
I really like that you went on a limb there and chose the Rams to win outright, because I thought you were going with Minnesota. In the spirit of that, I'm going to side with Minnesota. I'm going to go over on the points. And here's the thing. Yes, I would agree. Sam Darnold has had one good season. It's a heck of a season, though. It's not like it's, he's lucked into some games. There have been some games where, he has helped lead this team down the field with the stewardship of Kevin O'Connell, and he's played really well. Let's not forget, too, the weapons that Minnesota has with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson now back, and then also having Jalen Naylor, who has been a very good, supplement receiver in this offense. And you have Aaron Jones, who was a 1,000-yard rusher. So that they are going to have a well-rounded offense with Brian Flores on that defensive front. I think, too, what's going to happen is they're going to really put Matthew Stafford on his heels. I love Puka Nacua. I love Cooper Kupp. But I think the Rams have had a really good run to get into the wild card, but the Vikings I like their coaching, even though I know that Kevin O'Connell has come from the Sean McVay coaching tree. So this is kind of ironic where it's, protege going up against his teacher. But I just think that the Vikings just have a more talented roster, and they have a little bit more, what's the motivation to get there? Because I think they want to get the taste of losing to Detroit the way that they did out of their mouth, to where they get back into the contention to maybe see the Detroit Lions one more time. Because essentially Detroit and Philadelphia are probably the 2 teams that stand in the Vikings' way to maybe even get to either the Super Bowl or an NFC Championship game. And I think the Vikings are going to come ready to play regardless of Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is not a rookie. He's battle tested with being in Carolina, with being in the New York Jets, and this is a big moment. And I don't think Sam Darnold will be the reason why the Vikings falter. And I think that they will play really well. I think Kevin O'Connell will have this team ready to go. So I'm going to go with the Vikings to go over on the points.